Nails done, hair done, everything did. But was the black tie dinner worth the secrecy and the wait? Episode 3 ended off with the reveal of the mystery host of the black tie dinner, and episode 4 is where the party began. And I love fancy things, but Thobile's soiree did not stir up my FOMO in the least. For one, the hostess was objectionably late. I can understand that there are 102.4 entire kilometers between Mzumbe and Durban, but Thobile could have gotten ready earlier or at a venue closer to where she'd be hosting, or she could have organized some entertainment for her guests to fill the time. I mean, Thobile, call me. I sing and crack jokes. But I can forgive that. However, what I cannot get past is the fact that Makhumalo planned that dinner in order to introduce herself to the ladies and to get to know them better, since she has recently moved to Umhlanga. But if that's the reason she has called for a gathering of the housewives and their husbands, then why did the bulk of the conversation have to revolve around polygamy and infidelity? And no, I'm not just talking general banter on those subjects, but actually imposing the Mselegu couple's views on plural relationships onto their obviously monogamous guests. I had a hard time watching that dinner because the discomfort on the faces and body language of the other husbands in the room was undeniably visible, and the discussion was making the women in the room tense and anxious. Sorisha, whose husband is acquainted to Makhumalo's husband Musa Mselegu, even stated in her confessionals that the statements made by Musa were making her anxious about her own marriage, and Londi echoed a similar sentiment during her confessional. I therefore personally found Thobile and her husband to have been antagonizing towards their guest, and this is why. If Thobile and her husband want for others to respect their choice to be polygamous, then it is downright rude and discourteous for them to not extend the same measure of respect to the other couple's choices to remain monogamous. For Thobile to assume that all women are destined to at some point end up in polygamy, just because she accepted that from her own husband, is just her externalizing her own sorrows onto the other ladies. And for Musa Mselegu to assume that the entire male populace desires polygamy and that he is the envy of men in South Africa because he has 4 wives is just him ascribing his own lust and lack of self-control onto other husbands, as well as sowing seeds of uncertainty into their guests' relationships. It was distasteful, and Thobile should not have brought that mess onto this dinner table. Love and honor in healthy relationships is nurtured and protected by a couple. And even as outsiders, we have an unspoken duty to be sensitive and delicate around the love nest that a couple builds for themselves, because that is often the foundation on which their families, homes, and legacies are built and stand on. Even if your personal experience in relationships is different, or even if one half of the couple is not honoring the union, that does not open the door for us as outsiders to throw seeds of doubt, division, and suspicion into other people's relationships, because the seeds that you sow, you will reap. So be sure that when you plant a seed into someone else's relationship, that you will be willing to eat the fruit of that seed in your own relationship one day. After all, we are each other's keepers. Thobile claims that she has come onto the Real Housewives of Durban to get out of the shadow of her polygamous marriage. But if she is going to do so, then she has to be all the way intentional about that. A few videos ago, you'll remember that I spoke about how Londi London's intention for coming onto the show was to dissociate herself from the IG model image and to rebrand herself as a wife, mother, and businesswoman. And as such, we have seen how specific angles have been used to shoot her, which hide her voluptuous lower body. She dresses in flowy clothing rather than body contouring clothes, and her sunglasses are subliminally placed or mentioned during scenes as she is trying to promote her sunglass business. So if Thobile really wants us to see and know her as an individual, then she needs to follow in Londi's footsteps and aggressively show us that she has range. And her mistake was bringing Musa Mselegu onto the show and the black tie dinner, because she knows, as well as we know, that her husband is on an evangelical mission for polygamy. Shwele. Personally, I would have advised Makumalo to introduce herself to the ladies by hosting them at her new home in Umhlanga for a cocktail party or a wine and chocolate pairing party, or a party where she has someone teaching the ladies how to make traditional Zulu beaded jewelry. Anything, and no boys allowed. Then she is to talk about anything under the sun except for marriage in any form, polygamous or monogamous. Don't even bring up your sister wives. Don't even bring up your sister wives' pets. None of that. Nada. I'm interested to know from you what you felt of the black tie dinner and the conversation surrounding infidelity and polygamy, and how you saw the other couples receiving that chat. Put it all in the comments, and when you're done, leave a like, subscribe to the page, and share this video with your friend. And whilst you're doing so, I'm gonna go prepare my next video where I'm giving you more commentary on the Real Housewives of Durban Season 2. I will see you on the very next video.